We look at an entrepreneur who has built a career around exploration and creativity, and we assume leaving their comfort zone was second nature. My guest today, Rachel Lipson, proves that isn't always true. Rachel is the founder of Blue Balloon Songwriting School and the face behind Brooklyn Family Travelers, where she teaches families how to leverage credit card points to see the world. But her story has a surprising beginning. As a child, Rachel battled agoraphobia, the intense fear of leaving her own safe space. Her boldest move wasn't just starting a business, it was rewriting her own identity from someone who hid from the world to someone who now holds the keys to making it accessible to others. In this episode, we explore how she navigated the shift. We talk about the pressure to stay in coveted jobs, the power of changing the story you tell yourself about yourself, and how she has managed to sustain a business for 17 years by constantly moving the walls to make room for new growth. Here is my conversation with Rachel Lipson. Hello, Rachel. Welcome to the Bold Moves How Did You Know podcast.
Hello, thank you so much for having me. So fun to be here.
I am so excited to see you again and to get into our conversation today about making your bold moves from this really interesting and maybe a little ironic beginning, Rachel. Looking at your life now, you're teaching families how to travel the world using credit card points through Brooklyn Family Travelers and running Blue Balloon Songwriting School. So it actually looks like you were born quite adventurous. But you did share with me that you actually battled this fear of leaving your own space. I wondered if we could start there. Can you take us back to that version of Rachel and what your relationship was with the world back then?
Sure. Well, so as a kid, I grew up in Michigan in the suburbs of Detroit, and I was always fearful. I was afraid when I was really little. My parents tell me about, when I was a baby that I would cry. You know, they wouldn't know why. And as I got older and was kind of able to communicate more, I became pretty obsessed with, knowing where we were going, where we were going to be, if anyone, my parents were going to go out at night, if I was going to be home alone, if we were going to have a babysitter, like all kinds of things around safety and kind of physical um, space. And I was absolutely terrified to travel. So that was like the
Mm.
first thing. I was scared to go to get gas in the car and sit in the car at the gas station when my dad would go inside to pay, when you used to have to go inside to pay. I mean, that was like just locally, right? Like a mile from my
Mhm.
house. I was afraid of that. So then imagine like how I felt if my parents were like, we're taking a trip. I would be terrified. So yeah, it was a lot of anxiety and kind of, I would say like terror. Like I was really, really afraid, like heart pounding out of my throat,
Mhm.
whole body panic over really small things.
I wondered how you felt about that. Did you want to be able to go out and, travel the world or even go to the grocery store without feeling that way? And then how were you able to adapt to the condition over the years to, be a little bit more adventurous?
Well, that's a good question. So I think I I don't know how I handled it. I think everybody adapts in some way. And I think one of the ways that I adapted was kind of rationalizing some of it. Like, I don't want to do this anyway, kind of a thing. But there would be things that I really
Mhm.
wanted to do, and I would really push to do them, even though I was afraid. I really didn't just stay home. I was never somebody who just kind of settled into the easy way, even when it was really hard. And in
Mhm.
some ways, I think I, even as a kid, did things that were, I mean, it's not a competition, but I think I did things that were like more challenging than the average person would do. And especially given the fact that I was afraid, it's like, why did I even do it? I didn't pick the safe option. I would typically pick the thing that was like, and I think in some ways I was like telling myself the story over and over again. Like I was reliving it. I was putting myself in a position over and over where I was scared and I had to like get through it. And I
Mm.
had the adrenaline and I was worried and I had to problem solve. And I get to the other side and I'm like, okay, I'm okay. And it wouldn't
Mm.
prove to me that I could like do more. It wouldn't like, it wouldn't become like, okay, now I could do that. Like now I'm fine going to the gas station with my dad. I would like still be scared to go. but there was a part of me that didn't want to feel limited. And I felt like the walls always felt like they were closing in on me, but they especially felt like they were closing in on me if I like succumbed to my terror. And so I
Mm-hmm.
would push myself.
The irony of that is so interesting to me, how the condition really wanted you to say stay safe, but you were constantly pushing back and trying to rewrite that narrative or that story to help you move beyond it. And you did something really quite terrifying, I would imagine, coming from your perspective. You shared with me that you moved to New York from Michigan and trying to get outside of your comfort zone. Can you share more about the decision and why you did that?
Sure. Yeah, I was supposed to go to the University of Michigan. I grew up, and everybody said it was always, do you want to go to Michigan or Michigan State? That was the question in Michigan. It
Yeah.
wasn't really like, where do you want to go to college? It was like, do you want to go to Michigan or Michigan State? So I chose Michigan. I got into Michigan, and that was my plan. And it was a great school, still a great school. I was lucky to get in. I would have been lucky to go. And at the same time, I wanted to get out of Michigan. I mean, I felt so, if I felt like my world felt so small, partially because of my anxiety and my fear of leaving my anywhere, leaving my house, leaving
Mm-hmm.
wherever. But I also felt like it wasn't my people. Like I just felt like there was like a bigger world out there, that there were going to be more creatives in other places, that there would be
Mm-hmm.
more, I was like a musician, an artist. I was into like philosophy and literature. I just felt like there was like more somewhere else for me, that it wasn't really my place. And so I started to look at other options. And one of the things I had always felt, one of the places I'd always felt drawn to is New York.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it came somewhat from songs that I loved and like music I was really into, that New York just always, in movies and art, New York just always seemed like the place to be. And I thought, well, what if I moved to New York, and then that would be my new comfort zone? That would be the place that I was like afraid to leave. And I thought, well, if I can do that, at least I'd be in New York. Instead of being in like West Bloomfield, Michigan, I'd be in New York City. To me at that time, I was like, this is the epicenter of the world. This is the creative capital. This is everything. And this will be my new comfort zone. And so I applied last minute to a school, like a state school with rolling admissions, that was kind of arts oriented. It wasn't, one of the top schools in the country. It wasn't, it had a different purpose. For me, it got me out of my hometown, and it got me off on my own and out of my, what I had been used to. And I kind of forged my way with somewhat like a new identity and in a new place where I could create my new comfort zone.
So brave given the situation. And it really sounds like you had great self awareness and the idea that you didn't want to live a constrained life, that you did want to live a fulfilling and fulfilled life, but that really required extra effort on your part. And you took the steps to tiptoe. I don't know. A move to New York feels like a big step, but you know what I mean. You kind of kept going. You kept saying, "I'm not going to let this limitation stall me. I'm going to keep pushing forward to achieve my vision of what I want to achieve." Speaking of that, Rachel, what was your vision of your life back at that point when you moved to New York? What did you want to do?
What I really wanted was to figure it out. I was desperate to figure out what I wanted to do. I felt like everybody knew. It felt like everyone around me knew. And whether it was somebody wanting to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever it was, in sort of a more conventional position or a career, or the artists and musicians who knew that what they wanted to do was like be a performer or be an artist. And I never had that confidence that that's what I wanted. I knew that I wanted to learn more, and I knew I wanted to meet people, and I knew I wanted to like explore as much as I could.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think I really wanted to find that thing that I wanted to do. I also was really driven. I wanted to make money. I wanted to like be able to support myself. I wanted to have like financial independence from my parents. and I wanted to, you know, find a partner. I wanted to have a family. Like, I think
Mhm.
I knew that those things were like long term goals, but I didn't have like a trajectory of a particular career. And so I was like an English major with a philosophy minor. And, and I spent a lot of time just getting to know New York. I was terrified, absolutely. And I would still do it. I would go downtown and walk around for 6 hours, and I would like get to know every street and go to like every cafe. I'd read everything I could and Time Out New York and the Village Voice and like shows. I'd randomly go to shows. I'd go by myself. I'd ask people from school to go with me. I would just like go out there and try to like embed myself in the scene that I wanted to be in. And at the same time, I was writing songs. I was getting to know musicians. I was kind of finding my way as a musician as well.
Since we've talked so much about your desire to stay inside of a comfort zone, but also your push outside of the comfort zone to continue to try new things because you wanted to experience life and find your path, I assume. What advice would you have for other people who stay mostly in their comfort zone, but they do have visions or dreams of doing something that scares them?
One of the things that people always said to me throughout my entire life, and they still say it to me, is they say, trust your gut.
Mhm.
And that sounds like such good advice. It really does. It sounds like, oh, like you know best, you got intuition, like you have your lived experience, all these things. But what I actually found, one of the things that got me to the other side of where I was to where I am, was not trusting my gut. What I realized is my gut was telling me everything was scary, everything was danger, and everything was like blaring like signals like don't do it, don't go, like hazard, like don't move forward. And so I had to learn to ignore that, to like, or to like not even ignore it, but just be like, okay, thank you. I'm gonna go do something else. Like proceed with caution. Okay, I'll proceed with caution, but I'm gonna like keep doing the thing. And I think that that is something that I never hear people talk about. And it's not, and I actually think that I do have really good intuition, and there are things that I do trust my gut about now. But I think that that blanket statement of trust your gut is very problematic for people with anxiety because your
Mm-hmm.
gut is telling you that there's danger. But the reality is there might not. The reality is, yeah, there's probably a chance of danger. But when you have anxiety, everything feels like 50-50. It's either going to happen or it's not going to happen. Or sometimes it feels like 100%, like it's just going to happen, like it's inevitable. And I
Mm-hmm.
think being able to put it aside and say, not everybody has anxiety that's like living in their comfort zone, but I would say if you do have anxiety, that's one thing is to just like acknowledge the feelings of danger and concern and not make yourself feel bad about it and not beat yourself up that you have those feelings. Like that's not helpful. It was never helpful for me. But letting yourself have the desires that you have and doing them anyway, for me was always the only way forward. And I always did it. And I think that there's just a real difference between what you're doing because it's like expected of you or because it's like comfortable, and recognizing that things that you want to do can be comfortable too. It's just like you have to like expand your world in small
Mm-hmm.
bite-sized pieces. Not all, the New York thing was an all at once situation. That was definitely like a rip off the band-aid. And sometimes you have to do that. But generally speaking, to get from there to like traveling the world was not like another ripping off the band-aid. It was like slow, steady,
Yeah.
trying new things. And I think that just like maybe maybe you are afraid to not have a 9 to 5 job, and that feels like the most comfortable thing is to have like the security of a career where you're working for somebody else. But you have this great idea of a business you want to start. Maybe don't be afraid to start it in your spare time. Even if you don't have spare time, make spare time, right? Like things like that are ways that you can do it in like incremental pieces and
Mm-hmm.
start to make your world a little bit bigger and more fulfilling for like what you want to do and who you want to be without giving up the things that make you feel more secure. And as you build more confidence and you grow more of an identity around these other
Mm-hmm.
parts of your life, then it's not such a not a rip off the Band-Aid. Then you're like, I already have this thing. Actually, I'm just going to quit my job, which is so scary, but it's different. It's different.
Is that what happened to you? Was there a specific moment where you remember, I'm not scared of this anymore, actually? This is my new normal.
It was slow and it wasn't that long ago. I will say it was slow
Mhm.
and it was recent. And I still am afraid sometimes. I think of myself as like recovering from agoraphobia, but I don't think that
Yeah.
I ever will be fully recovered. It slips back in times when I don't expect it.
I think that's so relatable. I think a lot of people feel anxiety come back up when they felt like they've overcome something, or okay, I've done this so many different times in the past. Why am I still afraid to put myself out there or to take this trip or to, whatever the bold thing might be for you. So it's so relatable, Rachel, for you to share this story, because this fear is what holds many people back from being bold. For you, it was the agoraphobia, and for other people, it's general anxiety or whatever. But we all have fears that stop us from doing what we want to do. And it's so good to hear from somebody who was able to make such a sustained effort over so many years to just keep pushing and keep going to accomplish what you want to accomplish, which is a great pivot point into now what was next, the decision point around, actually there's something else that's really tugging at me that I can't escape.
I was in college. I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I was a songwriter. I was like playing shows downtown in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. I was in like very plugged into like an indie music scene. And at the same time, I was like graduating from college and needed to get a job. And so I started to find odd jobs. Like I would babysit, I would waitress, I would do all kinds of kind of odd things. And one of the things that kind of back to the question that you asked before, just really quickly,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that, like, a piece of advice is I would make decisions that I would just do something. It didn't matter. The level of fear wasn't going to be the deciding factor of a yes or a no. That was going to be something that I would have to deal with alongside it. But there was a level of like, I knew I was going to be afraid anyway. Like, whatever, it was going to find its way into whatever I was doing. So I may as well do big things. And so I kind of would operate under that idea of just like, it's not going to determine my decisions. And so I was offered a job as a preschool teacher. I got this job. It was this incredible private school. I didn't even understand like how amazing of a job I had landed when I got it. Um, and then I still had this feeling of like there's something more that I want to do, but I can't figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I was still babysitting, and I would bring my guitar. Babysitting, I'd bring my guitar to the school, and I would sing songs with the kids, and I'd write songs with the kids. And people were like, "Do you teach guitar lessons?" And I was like, "No, I don't teach guitar lessons. Like, I'm just like an indie folk singer. Like, I don't even know how to play guitar. Like, how am I going to teach your kid guitar?" And I, well, my daughter's 3, so maybe you could teach my daughter guitar. Like, you seem to know how to play guitar. It's like, well, yes, I could teach a 3-year-old how to play guitar. And so I started to kind of develop my own way of teaching. And in that, word spread like wildfire. People were like, this is
Mm-hmm.
amazing. I want this. And it was teaching songwriting and teaching instrument instruction at the same time. People loved it. It was like from like socialites on Park Avenue to like really influential parents in Brooklyn and everything in between. I mean, we had like we at that time it was me, just me. I had celebrities taking lessons. I was going to like these just incredible homes in New York, going from one to the next, teaching these lessons, and was kind of really blown away by what I was doing. But I was doing this, or what I was like achieving, like how much it was spreading, and that it was like this whole thing that had such a buzz. And at the same time, I was like still teaching a full time job, or still working a full time job. So I had this point where I had to make a decision, and after 3 years of doing this and really just feeling like completely exhausted,
Mm-hmm.
they offered to renew my contract and at the school, and I was like, I think I'm ready to go off on my own. I think I'm ready to do this, and I'm going to take and again, this was like I had 40 students of my own at this point, like outside of school. I mean, it's crazy.
Wow.
Like I was working so much, so hard. There's not
And
enough
these were
hours
all
in the day.
private lessons, right? So that's a lot. I can see how your days were completely full.
Completely full. I was so exhausted. I was working all weekend long. I think I was still waitressing too. I mean, I was just like hustling.
Wow.
And I mean, all of it too was waitressing paid okay. The school paid terribly. The music lessons were good, but it was like I was building something. Like I wasn't just trying to make money. I was like really trying to build this thing and wanted to see what would happen. Like how much could it go? And so I took this opportunity to say, I'm not going to renew my contract and I'm going to go off on my own. And so I had a few months of finishing the job at the school. And then I'd have the summer, which was kind of normal because summer, you kind of always have summer off as a teacher anyway. And then by the fall, I was off on my own.
Oh, that must have been another pretty scary moment to know that you didn't have that safety net of the predictability and the stability of the full time job. But there was a moment you were talking to me about when you were making the decision to leave and you were talking to other people and they were giving you advice. And
Yes.
sometimes that advice was kind of, I guess it was a little all over the board, Rachel. So, and I imagine this is really relatable for other people, right? Because they might have something that they have been doing on the side and they feel like they're ready to take it full time, or they just, have a dream that they want to pursue and they go out for feedback. That's normal. Everybody wants to get other people's opinions. What was the feedback like for you? And then how did you end up digesting it to know how to move forward?
When you have anxiety, one of the biggest it's actually really hard to get advice from people because I mean it's easy to get advice. People give advice all the time. Like when you ask them, when you don't ask them, like it's easy to get advice, but it's hard to take it because for myself, I had like a kind of all or nothing thinking. It was either everything's horrible, this is never going to work out, I should never have done this in the first place, I'm the wrong person for this. Who am I to teach guitar lessons? Who am I to teach kids how to write songs? All of that stuff, like all of the negative thoughts. Or I'd be on top of the world. Like, this is amazing. I can't believe I created this. Anyone would see that this is so cool. Like, what an awesome thing. And it's totally going to be successful. And I know it's going to be great. Like, so I'd have like these two thoughts these two like lines of thinking that would just like go up and down, like all day long.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I would say to somebody, "Oh, like I'm gonna leave my job and start this company," somebody might say, "Oh, wow, like, but that school that you're working at is like the most. Are you sure? Like, maybe you could just do this." I mean, people would say all kinds of things. Somebody said to me, and I think I shared this with you before. They said to me, a mom at the school said, "Are you sure this is a good idea? If you continue at this job, your kids would go to school here for free. And it's one of the hardest schools to get into in New York City. So not only would they like get in for free, but they'd be like more likely to get in." But I didn't have kids. I wasn't even married. I had a boyfriend who now is my husband, but I didn't know what was going to happen. So it was hard to make a decision based on something that I just didn't know I mean, it was not how I was going to make my decision. I knew that. But it really planted this like seed in my head of like, oh my God, am I making the worst decision of my life?
Mm-hmm.
Like she kind of presented it to me. And it was probably an off the cuff thing that she was just thinking about how hard it was to get her kid into the school and how expensive it was to send them there.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, you have this like laid out for you. It could be easy and you're about to like give it up. And so she was just sort of a cautionary tale. But I took it as like danger, danger, don't do it.
Right.
So
Right.
I was like really scared. But and then there were the people who'd be like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. That sounds so hard. Like, are you sure?" And I was like, and I remember talking to my kind of mentor and co-teacher at the time and telling her, I was like, "This is just I'm really excited about this new beginning." And people keep telling me that they're so sorry and I keep getting this and I don't know what to do. I don't know why this is happening. Why? And she said, "Oh, you need to change the way you talk about it." And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you just need to spin it. Like there's something about the way you're saying it that's making people feel like you're sad about it. And I realized I was saying things like, "Oh, I'm so sad to leave the kids. I'm really bummed to be leaving." And I would lead with that because I was kind of trying to make them feel better. Like I wasn't abandoning them. Like I was still, and I mean, who knows if they even wanted me to say that, but it was like my protective instinct to like
Mm-hmm.
think about how they might feel and not how I felt. And also that the the boldness of going out on your own is scary. And as a woman in business, it's very scary to go and tell people like I have my own way and I'm going to do this my way because people don't always like that. It
Mm-hmm.
makes them feel threatened. And so it was a way of kind of placating other people's envy or jealousy or anger or anything or just insecurities to like lead with this like insecurity about it. And I found that if I switched it as this teacher had said to me and instead say I'm really looking forward to this, this is like I've always wanted to do this, I've always wanted to start my own business and I'm doing it, people would be like, sign me up, like what can I do to help you? I
Mm-hmm.
can't wait. I can't wait to keep tabs on what you're doing. Like it did change the way people would talk to me and respond.
That's so relatable, right? Like, as women, we're always thinking about other people's feelings and how to not step on toes or make them not uncomfortable. And so we end up downplaying our desires or success. And I just had a conversation with a confidence coach, which is the last episode on the podcast, actually, for anyone who needs a little dose of also like how to build confidence. But she talked about how we need to remove the word just from our vocabulary. I'm just a mom. I'm just a teacher. And it's the same concept, right? It's like, let's own what we want to do, stop playing small around the dreams that we have and be okay with admitting it and owning our own ambition really is what it comes down to. And I think you've shared that so beautifully, Rachel. Okay, so no surprise, but we are 17 years later. And you have been running Blue Balloon now for 17 years. So obviously, you made the right decision. It turned out to be pretty successful. And, you said something to me that I have been thinking about a lot. You said running a long term business is like living in a house while renovating it. Sometimes you have to move the walls. I love that because it talks about, it just gives you this really visual metaphor around how circumstances change in terms of maybe your own life, external dynamics happen. So you're always kind of pivoting and moving. And I think this was in response to how do you stay bold inside of your bold move? Can you talk to me about staying excited about your business over all of these 17 years?
Yeah, I think when people go into business, I mean, people go into business in different ways and with different motivations and I went into it as like a passion project. So I was like, it was like passion first. It was not, I didn't go to business school clearly. And I went into it like, this is the most exciting thing and this is where I want to put my energy. But the thing about having a business is it does not stay the most exciting thing and it does not always stay the place where you want to put your energy. And even if it does over a long period of time, if you look back at it and you're like, yes, over the last 17 years, I have wanted to stay the course. I have wanted, but every day, and I already told you, I have those low moments and the high moments, and those have not really gone away. I mean, it's better than it was, but I still have it. So there are times when the littlest thing can happen, and I'm like, this is it. This is the end. This is just,
Yeah.
the business is tanking tomorrow. This is just never going to work out. And I'm like, and it's like not true, obviously, right? And all of those things that come up, the good and the bad, are part of running a business. And so that can be hard to handle if the way that you started the business is kind of desire and passion first.
Mm.
And I think about it too, like I was saying the kind of analogy of a renovation, but you could like think about it like as a marriage. That sort of like honeymoon period ends
Mm-hmm.
and it suddenly becomes something that you have given yourself a really hard job to run something that's all on you. And even if you've figured out how to delegate and you have a team, at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. And that's hard. That's big. And I think that I have been able to pivot when needed,
Mm-hmm.
both for the business and for myself. Like when I really started to just burn out and I actually think I might not have burned out if
Mm-hmm.
COVID hadn't happened. But when COVID happened, it was like I could have kept doing what I was doing. And then COVID happened. I was like, I can't do this. This is too much because my kids were home. I was like, they were like 4 and 6. I was just like dying. And I really figured out that there were ways in which I needed to ask for help when I needed to find the right people. I needed to ask for help. I needed to pivot the way that I ran the business. I needed to find help from like an advisory standpoint, help from getting things done standpoint, a team, have a team. And all those things together would allow me to be kind of my best self at each different phase. But it takes time sometimes to catch up with yourself. So there would be long stretches of time where I was not necessarily doing what would be like my highest and best use or what I really wanted to be doing. And I had to kind of just keep pushing forward. But I look at business as like a very creative thing. And I still do, even all these years later. And I think that there are just times when you just have to see the mundane stuff as part of the bigger vision and you have to push forward and it's okay. You don't have to be doing the most creative thing every second of the day for it to be a creative endeavor. You can do the small things and you can delegate and and also stick with it.
It's another example of rewriting the narrative of the mindset. You're, really working with your mindset to shift your perspective. Because as you were talking, another question was, how did you decide not to give up? And I wonder if it's like I just continued to have the vision and then I shifted my narrative or my mindset around like this is part of the creativity can actually be some of the mundane stuff. Would you have anything to add about like why not give up and just try something new and go back to trying something else?
Yeah, I so many times would be like, people would be like, would you ever sell your business? And there'd be days where I'd be like, yes, for 5 cents, literally. Like, anyone want a business? Like, I'd be like, this is for sale,
It's on
five
the
cents. Like,
sidewalk.
take
Yeah.
this. Like, I will pay you to take my business. Like, just, there's just those. But then there's that idea, like, if you threw all your problems in a pile with everybody else's, whatever the saying is, you would take them back. And I think that I like I said, like I see a business as a creative endeavor just in and of itself, like the business itself, whether the business is doing something creative or not is not even what I'm referring to. Like my businesses happen to have like layers of creativity, but just it's like that idea of renovating a house. Like once you get to a point where you've seen the renderings and you know what it can be, and you hit these obstacles where you have to move a wall and you didn't want to, or the room couldn't be what you thought and you can't have the window, or the light doesn't come in where you thought it would, and like all these things happen, the worst thing you can do is just like walk away. Then what? Then you're the one who had the vision. You're the one who can see it through. And it's like, I always felt like I'd be letting my business down. Like it became its own living,
Yeah.
breathing thing that needed me to kind of like push it into its full potential. And I don't know if am I ultimately the person who will, I don't know what its full potential is. Now I'm like, wow, it's reached its
Mm-hmm.
potential and it's like where it is. But there's this idea of like, it has done, it is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. And that took a lot of time and energy and pitfalls and bad days and bad months and seasons of difficulty and also times when I couldn't believe I had the best job in the world. So it would be both things. And so yeah, I think giving up became not an option. I don't know how else to put it. It was like, what else was I going to do? Go work for somebody else? I like didn't want to work for somebody else.
Yeah.
And it seemed like the upside of having my own business and having this thing grow was where the most potential was at. And so I just kept going and I keep going. It's not over. I'm still doing it.
Yes, 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 it is not over. In fact, there is more. We haven't even touched on Brooklyn Family Travelers yet. So maybe that's a great place to go next, because the Blue Balloon is operating and still continues to serve so many different families. Now in New York, I know you've expanded as well. I believe Nashville, Miami, is that correct?
We have a branch obviously in New York and then in Nashville, and then we have lessons in, Miami. We've had lessons in Austin, in Connecticut, and
Wow.
Westchester County outside New York City, and the Hamptons. So, and some other places. And we do remote lessons too. So most of it's in person, but we do remote. So we have lessons kind of all over with kids, with adults. We started working with, we called it like songwriting for seniors, and we did for seniors during COVID when they were, home. And so there's like a lot of ways that we've expanded it. Yes. And now I have a team that runs the whole day to day. So I have a very nice relationship with it. I think of it as it's like going to be 18 this year. And I'm like, it's kind of like about to be an adult. Like it's gone to college. We meet for dinner once a week kind of thing. Like we don't meet for dinner. I have a team meeting. It's a team
Yes.
meeting. It's once a week. It's on Wednesdays. But like I meet with the team and kind of go over everything, and they handle everything. Today I have a doctor's
Mm.
appointment. I can't make the team meeting. They'll have the team meeting and things will go on. If they have a question, they might shoot me a message, but it's kind of like it doesn't need me like it needed me before. It's not a
Mm.
little kid anymore. It's not a baby. It can make the business itself, the team, they can all make its own decisions. It can do its own thing without me needing to be in every little aspect of the day to day.
I like how you associate it with the stages of childhood, it's infant through toddler through, yeah, teenager, and now it's becoming an adult. What a cool way to think about it. And again, like the mindset of what that means, I think it's very easy to associate. Like, it's not going to be easy through all of these stages, but there will become a time where it matures. All
Well, and
right,
a lot of
let's,
people hold their, I was just going to say quickly that like a lot of people hold on to their businesses longer than they should. And who knows whether in the long run, if I'll see that I did that too. But if you try to have your adult child live with you and treat them like you did when
yes,
they were little, things don't go so well. So I think with businesses, it has some of the same feeling.
so good. All right, Brooklyn Family Travelers. It feels completely different. So, actually, can you tell us about the Brooklyn Family Travelers and the bold move moment where you decided to turn your knowledge of points and miles into a public platform?
Yeah, I did not make a decision to do it in a bold move. It was like one day I was homesick and I was thinking about, there are all these like Facebook groups out there and they had their own communities. And I was like, I want my own community.
Mm,
Like, I want a community where I can go and talk about travel and I can talk about points and I can be the one running the conversation. Because all these other communities, I would like be a part of them, but I was like, they're great, so helpful, but like, it wasn't what it didn't have my vibe.
mhm.
Like, it wasn't exactly what I wanted. It wasn't the travel recommendations I wanted. It wasn't exactly the way I wanted to talk about points and how it could help people. And it wasn't family oriented per se. And so I had this idea to start this Facebook group. So I started a Facebook group while I was sick in bed. I called it Brooklyn Family Travelers. And then I just started telling people in like neighborhood groups, like, hey, if you're interested in travel, join Brooklyn Family Travelers. So I started it as like another neighborhood Facebook group, not a business. But then I would sprinkle in things like points and miles tip of the day, or which credit cards do you have? Like, I can help you figure out which one you might want to get next. And I'd share my referral codes and I'd get points back. And I was like, this is really cool. And I'd be able to do that because it was my group. And then somebody's like, you should really go on TikTok. And I was like, I do not like TikTok. I don't know how I'm going to do that, but I could probably do Instagram. So I started an Instagram and then that started to grow. And I've had various things either go viral or have just I don't even know how it happened, but now I have like 46,000 followers on Instagram, which is a nice, solid community. And as that started to kind of become something, I was like, well, this is pretty cool. Gave me more of a platform to be able to talk about points and miles and family travel and traveling the way that we like to travel, which is typically going to more like urban destinations and doing more like culturally forward travel versus like
Hmm.
just touristy stuff. I mean, some of it's still touristy, but like we're not so much the, we will sit on a beach. I love a beach, love a good beach, but like we're not so much like, oh, we only take the kids on beach trips. Like we're like, we took a trip to Morocco, to Portugal. We went to another another spring break. We went to Vienna, to Prague and Budapest. We'll do like we're like really big on European cities for various reasons, but it's we really love the like city travel. And so okay, so the Facebook, the Instagram, then I started, did I have anything else? I think I created a website, and that was when I was like, okay, maybe this will really be a business. And I put a business together. I got an LLC. I like did the thing. And it was nice because I was like, this is so cool. Like I already know how to do this. Like this is really
Yeah.
cool. Starting a business when you've already started a business is totally different. 100% different than starting a business for the first time. Even though it's a very different business, as you said, it's an online
Hmm.
business. It's, very different. So I started this website, and again, it was just everything was just called Brooklyn Family Travelers because that's what I came up with that one night when I was, sitting in bed sick, and that's what made sense. And then it was 1 year ago, just about on Thanksgiving, and I had this interview with the New York Times a few weeks before. But as again, having a business, starting another business, you know things. And one thing I know is that you can have the most exciting press and it can fall flat, or it could just not go to press. Like you just never know. And so I really try to like not get too excited about stuff, prepare as much as you can. On that trip, I remember I was, they had said maybe this article might go out around Thanksgiving, and it was about loyalty and whether or not you should be loyal to airlines and hotels, or what, how you can handle your spending and where you should put your spending and which credit card.
Hmm.
So I think I had like an inkling that, it's the New York Times, who knew what could happen. So I did bring my computer on this trip on Thanksgiving. And I went down to breakfast on Thanksgiving morning, and all of a sudden I'm just getting flooded with emails in my inbox that people have subscribed to my mailing list. And I was like, this is crazy because, well, I don't really have a mailing list. I have a plugin on my website that was going to like a spreadsheet or something that was just like auto
Hmm.
populating with emails, but I didn't have a mailing list. And so and that was on my to-do list. I was like, one day, start a mailing list, maybe Substack. Like I just was like, I don't know, look into Kit, look into Substack, like look into different ideas. And so I was like, everybody, I'm going upstairs, I'm going to my computer, give me a minute. And I went up and I started a Substack. I turned on all the subscriptions. I created some different archive posts, and so it didn't look like it was like totally brand new. And I think by the end of the weekend, I had like over 1,000 subscribers, and it was amazing. People were paying to subscribe. It became a bestseller really fast, and that was when it was like, this I think is a real business. Like this is really going somewhere. And it's been in the top 40, 50 of bestsellers in travel for like 6 months.
Describe a little bit of what you do with Brooklyn Family Travelers in terms of educating people around credit card points and miles, and then we'll transition into the last question.
Sounds good. So what I do with Brooklyn Family Travelers is, so one is I write the newsletter, The Point, on Substack, which helps people understand how to use points to travel, how to travel with kids, which credit cards to get, which credit cards to use, which credit cards to close, like all the different things that might involve points and miles and family travel, or any travel. I mean, all of it is applicable to really anybody. And I also do one-on-one coaching. So I'll do private point strategy sessions with people. I'll do what I call wallet edits, where I'll do a I do these mini wallet edits over email where somebody can just tell me which cards they have, their credit score, like some various info, nothing like too personal, but just so that I can get a picture of
Yeah.
what they're doing. And then from there, I can recommend credit cards that might work for them or work better for them and earn them more points. And then I also do like wallet edit phone sessions where I'll do like a 30-minute, just like, let's talk about all the cards you have and all the ins and outs of like how you can earn points, how you can use your points well, like all that kind of stuff. And then I still do the Instagram, and I still have the Facebook
Yeah.
group, and I have affiliate partnerships with the credit card. So now if somebody gets a credit card through my links, I get paid, which is really what helps my business continue to grow. And so it's a really great thing because the majority of what I do with my clients, they don't have to pay me for, which is like what a great business. It's like such a different model,
Yeah.
like you said, as to what I
Yeah.
had before. And I would say that on the subject of how the businesses are different, I mean, they're so wildly different, but one thing that I think I needed a business that was different. Like after 17 years, like you have, like businesses have their own little world. There's like conversations that you have that you only have for that business. There's like problems that are very rooted in that business model and in those conversations about like, all kinds of things that are very specific to that kind of business. And Brooklyn Family Travelers has some overlap. I'm still working with families. It's a lot of the same community, but it's different. It's all different things. The good things are different. The bad things are different. The problems are different. The structure is different. The technology is different. There's so many things that feel new and different and exciting and allowed me to challenge myself in new ways. And of course, not without being afraid, but pushing
Yeah.
through things that I didn't know how to do. When Cup of Joe, who's an influencer in Brooklyn, a very prominent influencer, listed my company as one of her top gifts for the wallet and as one of her top gifts
Hmm.
for the holiday season. I had to go figure out how do I set up automated how do I set this up so that I don't have to be involved when somebody emails? Like I wanted it
Mm.
to be automated so they could pay and get their gift certificate and so I did. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. Now I know how to do that.
Yeah.
I never knew how to do it
Yeah.
before. So different things, new business, new problems, new fun things.
I've just loved this conversation with you, Rachel. I think we've kind of talked about it all from that lens of being bold and making bold moves, especially starting with the fact that a diagnosed condition holding you back from or making you more accustomed to being in your safe space, but then how you have actively pushed yourself out of your comfort zone so many different times before to move beyond that and know how to make decisions not based in that fear and anxiety, but according to what you want to do and achieve and who you want to become. So it's been very motivational and inspiring to talk to you today. The last question that I ask is around how to keep the momentum going in your bold move. And we've already touched on that. So if there's anything you want to add there, or maybe talk about what it means at this moment in your life, what it means to be bold to you.
Yeah, I think being bold is following your desires and also recognizing your needs and not trying to make yourself small. I think especially women, spend a lot of time and energy. Many women spend a lot of time and energy making themselves small in a lot of ways. And I think that it's okay to be big. It's okay to make yourself take up space and to not be afraid of criticism or other people's feelings around that. And that's hard, but I think it's important. And I think that that is the way that getting past that feeling and that worry, um, is really the way to be able to go out and do things that are really important to you. And so to me, I would say that is really a big part of being bold and really being able to be yourself.
Thank you again, Rachel. Thanks for being here. Where can people learn more, follow you, explore your
Yeah.
businesses?
So on Substack, I'm at Brooklyn Family Travelers on Substack. It's called The Point by Brooklyn Family Travelers. And on Instagram, it's BK Family Travelers. Blue Balloon is Blue Balloon School on Instagram, blueballoonschool.com on the web. I'm out there There's a lot of ways to find me. I love posting and sharing things about my life and my family and our travels. And I think people enjoy following along, and I really enjoy sharing it. And I'm always available. And like I said, the majority of the work that I do with Brooklyn Family Travelers, no one pays me for, which is so cool. So feel free to reach out if there's anything I can help with.
Thank you, Rachel. It's been such a pleasure getting to speak with you. And thank you to everybody else for tuning in. And we will see you inside the next episode. Bye for now.